What's going on, chat? Today we have something a little different. The audio for this video while recording just didn't come out right, so we're going to be adding commentary. Let me know in the comments if you guys want it this way in the future, or if we just go back to the regular, commentary during the game. Today we are going to be playing Teemo. We're playing Tempo Teemo. The deck list will be in the description in the comments. It plays Rasa, plays Watcher, plays good blue cards like Singularity, and plays a lot of secret base, or it's not secrets, that's Hearthstone. It plays a lot of hidden cards, synergies, that kind of thing. Goes through the deck very quickly with stacked deck. And today we are playing a mirror match. This is gonna be a crazy mirror match here. There's just a lot of things to keep track of, because I think going first is a large advantage, but it can be overcome. You guys will see that in this match. Yeah, these deck lists are somewhat similar, but not identical. And these will be interesting games. So we throw back 2 smoke screens in our opening hand because we don't really need too many of those in the mirror match, but we end up not drawing any units. But we are going first, so we will just play the Teemo from Chosen Champion. This could prove to be an issue. Opponent plays Ravenbloom Student, so we're just gonna start collecting points here, I believe. Being able to gust is very important in this matchup, because if you can keep your opponent off points, you can win a holding race. So we're gonna go ahead and get our first point here, and looks like we'll play a traveling merchant to base because we can still gust there. Ravenbloom Student. Another consideration would be to play the merchant and put the Teemo down on it, but that doesn't seem necessary because we can just gust their student here. And gusting their student will give us a huge advantage. So the opponent's going to play Sprite Mother and try to go for our Teemo, and we will gust this. Maybe we should have played the retreat, but it's hard to say because we could have just played retreat and let them have that point, but because we can't keep them off the point ultimately, right? The only difference here is that we get to hold with the Teemo. So opponent plays a hidden card that we don't know about yet, but we will score a point. We are slightly ahead because if we just hold forever and they hold forever, if we just mind our own business, we will win. But that's not likely to happen with that Sprite Mother, so we got to figure something out there. So we're going to start with a stacked deck here. Ember Monk looks pretty tempting here, but so does Singularity. Singularity makes it so that their holds are a little worse. I think we are going to take the Singularity, but this is quite an option. The Teemo is not too much of a consideration because we can't just bounce our Teemo. So we will go ahead and take the Singularity here and shuffle the rest to the bottom. So we're going to move the Merchant to the Bandle tree, and we will be able to discard a card. We probably don't need Stupefy here, and we get a Fight or Flight. Now we're gonna go ahead and use the Teemo Legend ability to put it back in hand, shuffle up our hand. Gotta make sure opponent doesn't know what we're gonna hide down there. So we will hide 2 cards onto the Bandle tree, and we still have 2 runes up. We're gonna pass. So we have a retreat up, which is pretty good here. Opponent cannot go in very easily with the Sprite Mother, and they have a Ravenbloom Student on the on the other battle tree. So opponent's going to gust our traveling merchant, which forces us to use this Teemo to hold the point. So our Teemo will be 4 might for this turn, which means that the Ravenloom student cannot attack it unless they probably use a smoke bomb or something of the sort. So opponent uses fight or flight onto the Teemo, and we're just going to lose our fight or flight here, sadly. Opponent takes the second battle tree and plays a hidden card that is their Teemo from their chosen champion zone. So now we're in a very bad position here. Well, it's not the worst position because we do have access to this Singularity. So a question would be whether we want to develop before we Singularity. That might actually be a good idea. The only problem is they would go up to 5 points there to R2, but it might have to be done. Playing Watcher here is not the best idea because the flip Teemo will still be 4. Although Watcher does clear it, they still have runes up. They have 4 runes up, so that too many things can just beat us here. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead and Singularity here, and that will force them to flip both of their hidden cards at this point. So they will lose the hidden card on the Ravenbloom student, but they will get a Teemo here. So Singularity is really good for us. Now we can, we're gonna go ahead and play our merchant and pass the turn. I think we are playing around Sprite Mother here because there's really no reason to play into that and give it to them for free, because going up to 3 points is not that important versus going to 4. So the opponent is at 4 points and then uses the Teemo ability to put the Teemo back in hand and put it back down. So now we've got some options. If we fight or flight if we fight or flight the Embermuck, they'll be forced to flip the Teemo, which is not that important for us. We're gonna go ahead and merchant, and then we're gonna discard our retreat here because it just is not needed for where we're going. So we draw a Ravenloom student and we will score a point here. So now we just got to figure out how we want to proceed. I think we're just gonna go ahead and play 2 hidden cards to the Banner tree, but let's see what happens here. Okay, we're gonna play a Rasa to base because we have six cards in the trash here. So that's very helpful for us. And then we're gonna put the Teemo back in hand with our legend ability. And then we are going to play... don't forget to shuffle, everyone. Don't forget to shuffle your hand whenever you put a card back with Teemo. Just to make sure that, opponent doesn't know which is which, or if you actually wanna trick them. So we're gonna be playing a Teemo to the Bandle tree. We're gonna play a Ravenbloom student and pass the turn. I think we want to hold on to this fight or flight because we can use it to force them to flip that Teemo, and then that Teemo will be vulnerable to this Rasa. But let's go ahead and see what happens here. Opponent is at 5 points to R3. This game is going a little slower pace since we are mostly capturing 1 point at a time. Opponent did have that turn when they went up 2 points in one turn, which is why they are ahead, but it's not completely over. So the opponent will play Watcher and take the other side, which makes us regret not playing Fight or Flight here. But I think we are saving it for our own Watcher. Let's go ahead and see what happens here, because I do believe we're going to 9 next turn, which means we can't. We can Watcher and Fight or Flight, but we can't accelerate the Watcher, which is the biggest problem with this situation here. So if we Fight or Flight that team, Fight or Flight the Ember Monk, and then they flip the Teemo, then the Teemo will be at 1 might because of Watcher happening after it gets flipped. Let's go ahead and see how we play this. Opponent has a good amount of counterplay here. If they smoke screen, we're gonna run into a lot of problems here. So what we're gonna do here is accelerate the Watcher. So that'll put their Ember Monk down to 1. So Watcher can beat Teemo and the... Oh no, it ties with them. It just depends if the opponent has something here. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and now put our Rasa onto their Watcher and put our Monk down. Put our student down to the tree. So now we have a hidden card on both battlefields. We're gonna put a consult with the student, and we're gonna go ahead and put a Fight or Flight with the Rasa. So that way, if they have another Watcher, then we can save our Rasa and put it back in base. So opponent will be playing Singularity, so we cannot save the Rasa, but we can draw 2 cards with the Consult. Opponent is running out of cards here though, so opponent plays a Ravenbloom student to base. We are at 5 points to their 6 points. Drawing this Gust is very good for us, so we can keep them off the point. We're just gonna play a Traveling Merchant and pass the turn, I believe, or I guess stack deck is also good. If we find another Rasa, it gets really good here. No Rasa, but okay, we have Rebuke, Ember Monk, or Consult. These are good choices. So we're gonna go ahead and take the Rebuke here, just so we can try and out-resource our opponent. Yeah. So we're gonna Consult here, and yeah, I remember this. This is when I get greedy. So we're actually using stack deck here to look for a Rasa, but what we should have done is hold up this Gust and stop them from taking a point. Because if they take a Banal Tree, then they can just start coming back into the game. So this is just very greedy from us, and it probably leads to our downfall here. So opponent goes for their 7th point, and I think they just win off of an accelerated creature. Oh, Rasa and Mundo. Oh, yeah. Yep. We get hard punished for our transgressions. I think they just put them both down on the Banal Tree, and because that ends the game pretty much if they get it down. Yep. And that's the end of the game. There's no out here. Pretty sure drawing another Gust is not helpful. Okay, we're gonna go into sideboarding now. We have some options here. We could try and put sneaky deck hands into the deck and try and capture a point first, but that's not that important. We're gonna go ahead and put in at least a Watcher for sure, because that is I think in this matchup you do want accelerated threats out, so you can just try and get a point and put a hidden card with that, and retreat just for some anti anti-interaction. Like for example, to get around the singularities, or if they just attack with, you could save your own watcher. Yeah, so since we're going second, we are taking out an Ember Monk and a Smoke Screen. I just don't think we need those. So our battlefields are... Our battlefield, since we're going first, we've chosen Fortified Position versus Zon Warrens. Fortified Position is good, especially going first, because it makes taking that battlefield back near impossible for our opponent, especially in the mirror match, but in a lot of matchups. So opponent here plays their Teemo from Chosen Champion Zone. If they gust us here, it's really bad for us, but we do have to go for this anyway. Yeah, so our choice is whether we want to improve our hand or go to the Fortified. So we're gonna go ahead and get the Traveling Merchant ability. And if we get gusted here, it's gonna be trash. Oh, that's a gust. Uh-oh. So the gust will go back. We'll send the Traveling Merchant back to our hand, and now they will get the Fortified Position, which is very difficult for this deck to overcome. It's not impossible. We're actually gonna play the Ember Monk here and pass the turn. So what this does is it gets the development out of the way, so we don't have to spend 4 at any other point in the game. It also is immune to Gust, so that would be a plus, unless they have a Stupefy. This is when we're talking about how the mirror match just comes down to who can gust the first unit, which is a pretty big deal. So the opponent will play an Ember Monk to the Fortified Position and put a Teemo back down. And yeah, this a lot really does happen if your first unit gets gusted. That is a very big problem to have to contend with in the mirror match. Yeah, here we're moving Ember Monk to Zon Warrens, try and improve our hand a little bit, and try and fight for that Fortified Position another day. So we will get rid of the second gust because, oh, we've just drawn another gust. Very cool. Oh, that wasn't the second gust, the first gust. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna get rid of, we are getting rid of, we're getting rid of a gust because we don't really need it too much. And we're putting Teemo back. We're putting our Teemo down to the Zon Warrens with the Ember Monk, and then we are stack decking here. We probably should have stacked deck before before we put down Teemo, but you know, we are improving every day. So opponent will hold the Fortified Position here and go up to 2 points. So the opponent will play Singularity on both of our units that are shown, targeting the Ember Monk and the Traveling Merchant. We will be able to retreat here and get our Ember Monk back and flip our Teemo so that we can still hold the Zon Warrens. Yeah, this mirror match is weird because you kind of just throw singularities and Rosas at each other until somebody loses, and a lot of it just seems like a check for how much card draw you can get, how much, if you can get Gust first, if you can get Rosas down first, and yeah, there are a lot of issues here. But I think we're gonna go ahead and play the Ember Monk back down to the Zon Warrants. This time we will be putting the Teemo back in our hand and then playing the Consult that we got last turn. And we'll pass the turn here. So opponent will be at 3 points. They're gonna Consult and just draw 2 here. They have 6 cards in hand currently. Okay, they're playing a Traveling Merchant to base and pass the turn. Okay, yeah, I remember this. This is where a lot of interesting things happen. This turn specifically. So this is where we find out that there is a little bit of skill expression in this matchup. And it's not just a check on how much card draw and how many gusts you can get early. Ember Monk seems to be a very important part of the matchup because he's just large. So we're gonna start with a Consult here. So this Fight or Flight is going to be very good. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna Singularity, targeting their Merchant and their Ember Monk. So they're forced to flip their Teemo here. So when the Teemo's ability goes on the chain to give it 3 might, it's still 1 might. So we're gonna actually go ahead and gust that to hand. So now the opponent has no units on the board, which is very good in the mirror match if you can get them to that point. We're gonna go ahead and Fight or Flight the Ember Monk back to base and take the fortified position here. So now we have a choice to make what hidden card we want to play. So we're gonna go ahead and play our our Teemo to that fortified position just to try and guarantee our position on board here. And we are playing our Rasa because we have 9 in the grave, 9 in the trash. Yeah, we had to pay an energy to put the Teemo down, but we are able to hold up 2 points of interaction here. We have a retreat to try and save our Ember Monk, and we do have a gust. So here the opponent gusts with Sprite Mother, or excuse me, the opponent plays Sprite Mother, to which we gust. And the game gets really bad for the opponent in this position because I'll just take the Rasa. Yeah, here opponent wants to concede. And we are talking about what we could have done better here. So I think I'm saying that, yeah, so opponent is saying that he wants to concede because the Rasa will come down. Yeah, we're talking about what if they just play Singularity, and the biggest problem with the Singularity line is that I have retreat. So this problem, or this mirror match, a lot of it will also just come down to who can maintain a board presence for longer, which is why Singularity is just such a key card to have. And that's why the card draw is really good, because it'll help you find all the singularities that you need to win. Yeah, so we're going over if the opponent's singularities, then we can just retreat. Yeah, but then we'll have the gust for the following turn, which the Sprite Mother will run into either way. Yeah, so we're gonna actually rewind and see if there is how drastic, how different it is. Yeah, so with the Singularity change, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, the Ember Monk. Yeah, if they Singularity, we'll have the Ember Monk. Or we'll have the Rasa still. Yeah. Because we'll put the Rasa back in our hand when we'll still have the Gust. Oh, we drew a second Rasa. And the opponent has no units. So that's probably going to seal the deal here. So we're gonna go ahead and stack deck. Oh yeah, we went and used consult, and then we're gonna use stack deck. We're gonna get a Watcher to our hand to try and close the game out the following turn. So opponent uses Sprite Mother to send the Sprite to fortified position, and I will gust this. And yeah, there's no coming back from 2 Rasas. Yeah, that's pretty messed up, I do admit. Yeah, the mirror match just seems like a check on who can find the most removal in a timely manner and keep the opponent off of points, or keep the opponent off of points, because if they ever get a point, then they can put a consult the pass down and things just get really bad. So here we are going to game 3, and opponent has fortified position, and I've played Zon Warrens going second, so it's basically the same game except they are the one who's going first. So here we look at our opening hand. We immediately get rid of the smoke bomb. The question is, do we get rid of this Rasa because it's too slow? But I think Rasa is a very important part of this mirror match. It's a little bit of a tough decision. We'll be able to try and take the Zon Warrens, on our first point if they allow us to, because of Gust. And this time we have the Gust, so this could be really good for us also. So we mulligan 1 and we draw an Ember Monk here. So opponent's turn 1 is play Teemo, and then our turn 1 is to just play Raven Bloom Student and pass. So we'll be able to gust this Teemo here. And it's a key card in this matchup, is to be able to go. Oh my goodness, opponent has Sprite Mother, and they will send the Sprite Mother to the fortified position, which will keep us off of the fortified position. And I imagine that card is a Teemo down there. We do end up talking about it later, that this puts them down to such a low rune count that it's pretty detrimental, but it's also not a horrible line. It just depends, because a lot of reasons. But we'll go ahead and put our Raven Bloom Student to this Zon Warrens, and we'll be able to discard and draw. It just becomes a matter of what exactly gets discarded. So we are getting rid of our Raven Bloom Student to draw. Now, yeah, we're gonna play our Teemo to the Zon Warrens and play a Ember Monk to our base. So what this does is it pressures our opponent into a situation where the Ember Monk might turn into a 6 might unit on attacks. And the Teemo will be 1 might on our turn, or 3 might because of the fortified position, which Ember Monk can beat. And if they were to send Sprite Mother to the Zon Warrens, then that could prove problematic. Okay, so opponent is putting the Teemo back in their hand and putting the Sprite Mother onto the fortified position, so that presents to us probably up to 9 might on that board. So we will not be able to take that with Ember Monk anymore. I think we just try and develop here and look for use stack deck. So we're actually going to go ahead and have our Ember Monk go to the fortified position. This will force the opponent to act first if we play since we played our Teemo. Their Sprite Mother will be at 5 might. Their Teemo will be at 4 might, right? is right now they need to act first. So what the opponent has chosen to do is to play a fight or flight and put our Ember Monk back in our base, which is actually kind of good for us, since we can just repeat the play pattern next turn and actually have a good answer. Yeah, it was a favorable position for us because we actually have a way to beat the Teemo face down. Because if they flip the Teemo, we just fight or flight the Teemo back to their base, and then we beat the Sprite Mother. We were just going to go ahead and develop here and pass the turn back to our opponent. I think yep, looks good. So we will also be holding up fight or flight, which probably is not too relevant here. Opponent is playing Singularity to our Ember Monk and our Merchant. This is resulting in a very slow game, slow pace of game. We will get our point for holding. That should put us to 3, I think. So we're gonna end up playing our Rasa here. Yeah, it looks like just developing this turn and passing. We are able to... Okay, opponent cannot watch our next turn, but if they Singularity, things could get really bad really quickly. So the opponent plays a Raven Bloom Student and passes the turn to us. So we draw Teemo for turn. So now it looks like a Singularity is our best line here. And we will have a lot of interaction if they try and do anything to stop this. The biggest problem is that the Teemo will be 6 if we go into a Teemo by itself, right? Yeah, but I think it's fine because we can just fight or flight it or rebuke it. So we will Singularity. Opponent will flip the Teemo here. Yeah, this also plays around. Yeah, so we will fight or flight the Teemo back to base, and then we will conquer the fortified position. Opponent uses stacked deck, I believe, to find a fight or flight or a rebuke. Rebuke is not that good here, actually. I think it just needs to be fight or flight in this situation. So it is another stacked deck, and they will get another chance. So this opponent will get to look at the top 6 cards of their deck, essentially, to find a fight or flight. I think the problem is they used one already, so it somewhat reduces the chance. They could also be looking for a Singularity to try and win the board back in the following turn. So we will take the 5th point here, and we will use an energy to play the Teemo to the fortified position. This plays around the opponent's Watcher, which is very important since they are at 8. The opponent sends in the Watcher to the Zon Warrens, and this is an pretty easy rebuke here. So that will go back to the hand. We will be at 7 points, and if they replay the Watcher, they lose the game. They would have to, I don't know what it would have to be, but yeah, that is the mirror match. It looks pretty awful. It looks like an awful experience to have to play. Sometimes you're just checking for if you can gust on the first turn, but even the gusting on the first turn doesn't fix all your problems, because Singularity can just completely ruin your day. You're kind of just checking to see who gets the key cards first in the mirror, and a lot of the cards are like okay or just help you get there. Yeah, this mirror match seems like a weird one to play, because you're constantly playing around stuff, and the person who gets to hold first starts to accrue a pretty big advantage. Not all the time. It's, both of these, or all these 3 games have shown that you can beat an opponent who's going first. But yeah, these games were somewhat interesting, and also at times not interesting, because I think Singularity just makes this very lopsided, and especially if the units are, if you run out of units, you will lose very quickly. All right, well, let me know in the comments if you guys also think this matchup is toxic AF, and if you guys want more Teemo gameplay, let me know, or if any other things you guys want to see played. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.